So I've always found it really interesting to see how they got a great big, huge truck up there with 4 wheels. You know, you can see how big that was. I'm just still wondering how they carried it on the ship, and you know, it's only wonder they didn't tear their spacesuit at all while they made it up.
It's amazing, isn't it? So, I mean, just something else that you've mentioned as well is an incident called the Shinglestreet Mysteries, and I've never heard of that before. So I sort of quickly looked into it. It's, you know, it sounded quite, you know, not a very nice experience, but it really happened. And I just wondered if you were prepared to sort of go into that.
Well, Dot and I, who wrote Sky Crash with me, we went, when we heard about it from one of the fishermen down at the Jolly Sailor at Orford, we actually went down there to ask about the UFO, because several people had seen a craft come over, and we got told about the Shinglestreet mystery, which was really, really exciting. And so we went sort of back later on, and we interviewed several of the old guys down there, the fishermen, and mind you, they taught me to play Shove Hastily while I was there. Anyway, yeah, they told us about the sea being set on fire and a lot of bodies all being burned, and, you know, the bodies were put on lorries and taken to the train station, and then they were taken away down to Yarmouth or somewhere, or Gorton or whatever, and they were buried or cremated. So, I mean, that's only part of the story. That's because of the Germans were supposed to invade, weren't they, our beach line, our shoreline. And they had to do something. The military had to do something to ensure that they didn't come here. So they put gas and gas pipes onto the sea and oil in that, and set fire to the sea. Now, a lot of people I know say that's complete rubbish, and that's all been hushed up. It should have been released in 2012. I believe now, once again, it won't be released until 2021. And also, Barnes Wallace was supposed to have done the bouncing bomb there, which, as the story goes, that went out of control, and that went through one of the pubs that was actually on Shinglestreet, and smashed through one of the walls of the pub.
All the residents were evacuated, wasn't they, before they lit the gas things in the sea. And I guess the issue here is that the fact that they've, you know, this is like a crime against a war crime in a way, isn't it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That is what they're saying, isn't they? That the war crime, that's why it's been all hushed up, and why it's been put to bed basically until 2021. But yes, all the residents were all along that coastline. They were all evacuated, and they were given other places to stay. And the people who actually wouldn't get out of their houses, they refused to. I believe that they did die. So, you know, they were killed in whatever happened. And most of the houses and everything were destroyed anyway. But it went from sort of like Orford Ness, Sudden, Orford Ness, and towards and along the coastline. But they had all these barriers up and everything, and to stop people re-entering the area.
Oh, it's incredible. So, I mean, what's the timeline for the book? You know, sort of getting it finished and published.
Well, I mean, we're almost halfway through the book now, and it's you know, because I've collated all the information and Brenda's helped me with the documentation and information that I need. It won't be long before it's completed now, and I won't say if we've got a publisher or not, because I don't want people to go finding out who they are.
Right. Okay. Is that in case they get intimidated or something? Is it? I mean, have you experienced any kind of intimidation while you've been doing this work? I mean, because years ago it seemed that the powers that be came down heavily on people researching this kind of thing. Do you think that they're sort of stepping back a bit now? Are things changing?
I know. I still think it's done, but because we've moved into a technological age, it's done much easier now. They can bug you, can't they? If you've got a mobile phone, they can listen in where you are. They just need satellites to do it, really. And, you know, the interesting thing also with a lot of people who are involved with UFO research is that, as Brenda will tell you, they probably have dossiers on us.
Yes, the MOD. Yes, the MOD did have dossiers on us. Ralph Noyes, who I was quite friendly with, he sent Dot and myself a list of people whose phones were tapped, and we were on that, and they've got some files on us. And Dot and I, we were followed, we were threatened, we were told our phones were tapped all the time, and we just, I went on radio, that was Radio Orwell then, that's Radio Suffolk now, but Radio Orwell, and I was doing a weekly thing on there, talk on there, and I started talking about Rendlesham and experiments and UFOs and things going on down there, and immediately I was took off the air and I wasn't allowed to go back on anymore. And as I say, our houses have been watched, Dot's children were threatened, and we were taken to the MOD up in London and Jenny Randall, myself and Dot, we were taken up there and we were asked to sign a document to say that we wouldn't investigate into Rendlesham anymore, but we refused to do it unless they could tell us that we were doing anything to harm, our British government or anything to harm us. But they wouldn't do it, so we said no, we wouldn't sign the document.
That's very brave. Very, very brave.
I'm not frightened of them. So
yeah, yeah.
They don't bother at all.
But it seems, obviously, with the advent of technology and the internet, there's just so much stuff out there now on this subject. And, with all things, there's some really good material. And, what you've uncovered here, you're looking at solid stuff. You're going down to Rendlesham, you're witnessing these beings firsthand, you've had contact with beings in the physical. But, with the internet, there's a lot of stuff that's really wishy-washy. It kind of almost muddies the waters a little bit, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, but the you've got, Brenda Butler was one of the first investigators on the scene of what was going on anyway. And as it's detailed in the book, that illustrates perfectly that she was there to document all of the evidence as quickly as she could. And she had the first-hand information, even with Colonel Charles Holt, who was Deputy Base Commander at the base at the time. She had a lot to do with him and all the people that were that had been around and witnessed to this event. So, you're dealing with someone who was there firsthand, not from other people that have come in and said, secondhand and saying, well, I'm an authoritative figure on this subject, which they're clearly not. Brenda is.
Okay, that was really, really, really interesting. I'd love to hear more about this as you sort of progress on this subject. It's obviously the anniversary coming up for Rendlesham and what happened down there. Is there going to be some kind of celebration going on, do you know, to celebrate it?
Yeah, yes, it's quite possible. We're doing something on November the 20th. We're hoping to have a celebration down there with myself giving a talk on the recent events of what happened down at Rendlesham, and Philip, he's also going to give a talk on things that he's seen down there and different things. But basically, we're just looking now to get it all set up.
And a sky watch as well, too.
Oh, yeah, we did sky watch a walk afterwards, yeah. If we have hundreds and hundreds of people turn up, I don't know how we're going to manage that. Which we are hoping to turn up.
Just another question I've got, Phil. You sort of talk about bridging the gap between the psychic and UFO phenomena.
Yes.
And one of the things that seems evident every time I read stories of people being abducted, it seems to open up some kind of psychic ability in that person.
Yes, that's right. I've always maintained that this case. When I had my experiences, I later found that I was a medium, and I became a medium, on the stage and platform work and all sorts of things. And I truly do believe that although sometimes these experiences scare us because we haven't been educated about them, it does in some way open up our consciousness. Now, is it possible as well that people like astronauts who go out into space, which we've discussed before, and we go out into space and then they come back and they're changed? It's almost as if their consciousness is united with the universal mind. And when people are abducted, they are, I believe, taken outside of our third dimensional reality, or just beyond that, and the same thing happens with them. I'm not saying that all of the cases of abductions are real. You have to be very technical in your approach towards this. You get people that put a lot of disinformation in and make up these silly stories. And as I've maintained before, people like Brenda and myself are only after the truth, and that's what we're looking for. And it's, a painstaking task, but I think we're almost there with regards to the Rendlesham case. But sure, people are changed. If you do see something like UFO and someone else